In the top left, as the blue TErran for Team Liquid, he is Clem.
I'm excited to see how Clem gets aggressive, right? Because I feel like that's the most dangerous part of Clem. He is so freaking good at those early game units. Like, Clem's Liberator early game feels like, you almost want to get Liberator's nerf. Because you got to move that you move the Liberator here, then you just get a shot off, you move it again. He's just so good at babysitting those early units, and he gets so much value out of them. I love to see it when Clem goes for this kind of gas first play, gets a bit aggressive. I feel like it gives him a lot of chance to just take leads in the game. And that's what's so scary, because a lot of the time he just gets little leads. And if Clem gets a little lead, he is going to run with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this guy really knows how to make the most out of every unit, right?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
I think Elazer is, and I don't mean it's in the negative way, I actually mean it very positively, but he can make even like the worst unit composition kind of look strong just by almost beating you over the head with it, right? You like look at it and you're like, well, Tony Roaches, I don't know, Elazer can that really do it? And he just is. I think what makes it so strong for him, for Elazer, is that I think he commits to his decisions, right? I mean, Elazer might make the wrong decision every now and again, but I don't really think of him as a guy who waffles too much. He goes like, well, maybe I shouldn't do this Nidus, or hold on, let me rethink this. He just goes for it. So that can sometimes like create opportunities where other Zerg's going to miss them. Clem, that one we're going to be looking at to mess up his macro or anything like that while he's microing, but some of the times those surprise fast muta builds where you don't actually get upgrades, you just build Ling Baneling right. It would be another version of one of those just kind of wacky, out of meta surprise dedicated attacks, shall we say, basically all in. But that's actually what I'm looking for Elazer is does he go into Spire, and at what time does he go into Spire, or is it going to be the faster evolution chambers? But right now I'm going to talk about Clem and his medevac. So
yeah,
didn't build any other Marines. Armory not going to come down, it looks like.
It's going to be a Hellion drop right from the proxy starport, so
indeed,
it's going to be pretty. I like it, because it's not so offbeat that like you're making up the meta, right? You're not like putting yourself at a huge kind of like, oh my god, like I don't know where to play out from this, but it's definitely something that can get a lot of damage done if you're just not expecting as a laser. Still run by is nice, though, a couple of SCV kills already, so the laser gets in, Hellion's out of position, but he's got to be able to defend this medevac drop, and right now he's only got a few lings back at home, and I doubt they're in the main base, so here we go. Clem gets in, drones are pulling, and he's already roasting them, zombie grub. There goes 5, and he's obviously got all these Hellions still alive. Might run them into the medevac as well, because, hey, it's Clem, and he makes the most of every single unit.
7 drones already, with 4 Hellions still alive. Now, the Queens are on top of the medevac, cornering it into the little back spot on Death Aura, so that might not be able to do too much more, but the Liberator coming in to further distract the Queens, plus even these 2 Hellions could try and race along just to get the Queens out of position, right? It might open up a pathway for that medevac to escape or just continue doing damage. And behind this, Clem is grabbing his 3rd CC and going into those additional barracks. So Elazer still, preoccupied rebuilding his drones, making sure he doesn't take further damage, has now been just like moved off of anything I was just talking about. Like, there's not going to be faster upgrades. There's not going to be a Spire. There's not even a lair started yet.
Yeah, no, it's, I don't like this Liberator Siege. That feels, he's trying to do something with the Hellions at the same time. He gets a Queen, so he gets a Queen and a drone, to be fair, but that's very not like Clem, right? Just to put his Liberator in a position that's not getting out of. As he goes and he gets 4 drones on the 3rd base, so, I mean, again, he finds value out of it, right? It's a sacrificial Liberator, basically, and yeah, I mean, that's Clem. It may not have been the most kind of efficient Liberator on its own, but it's everything else that he created because of the Liberator play.
And then having to lift his starport back home. I mean, you're not going to get too quickly into the medevac, so it could provide a reactor. I mean, it does still seem like it's did enough. The medevac barely going to live, so I was going to fix my statement if it had died, but all right, medevac lives, backs off. It's still a big delay on Elazer's overall game plan. But as far as Elazer being able to recover from this, yeah, I think so. He's got his 1-1 start at the same time as Clem. He's going to be pushing out his creep sprigs. That is one thing that style of play doesn't really do anything against, right? You're so busy trying to get drones in the main and the natural, you're not denying creeps. So that could explode in the limited amount of time that Elazer has anyways before medevacs appear. In fact, Clem, he's not even waiting for a reactor on his starport. He's going to build 1 more, repair up the first medevac, and still have 2 medevacs for a tank push. Oh, that is going to expedite the push. I actually thought it'd be a little bit later.
No, it's going to be a scary push, right? You look at Elazer, what's he going to work with? 1-1 against 1-1. He'll have Banelings with no speed. It's going to be a tough call. This one, Fresh Mule, needs to pull away for a moment, but yeah. This is the sort of scary push that you don't really want to be up against as a Zerg. There are 3 siege tanks. It just makes the Banelings so difficult to get into play. Those tanks, they target fire them down. It feels very unlikely. You've got to basically swarm this with Lings. I don't think you can swarm this with Lings Zombie Group when you've gone up to 76 workers after losing workers early in the game as well. Like, that doesn't really add up to me. I feel like Clem's got a lot of potential right now.
Yeah, especially because Elazer, I mean, he had his queens moving around everywhere, so I'm guessing the larva injects weren't on point, and then his macro hatch only just recently is finishing. So yeah, this is a very awkward hold indeed. Clem not waiting for that reactor, actually pushing pretty much as fast as he could. Is potentially going to get this base. Elaser's trying to defend. He's got Banelings trying to hit, but they are slow and they're going to be targeted down for the most part there. This might be cleaned up with more link reinforcements, and meanwhile, Elazer is grabbing some SCVs on the other side of the map. It looked dangerous, but that was not a bad hold.
I think the counterattack was key, right? Because it meant Clem had to focus over there instead of focusing on the fight. I think if Clem focuses on the fight, he protects his siege tanks a lot more. And if he can protect those siege tanks, he still has 1 or 2 of those. The rest of this fight looks so different. The Marines can probably stick around a bit longer. But yeah, it was a great counterattack from Elazer because just fighting head-on, Clem can probably handle that. The counterattack gets some damage done. It takes Clem's attention away. And for me, I think that's the biggest win of all here from Elazer. And yeah, now he's got mutas on the way, 2-2 starring, and he survives for Bane speed as well. So yeah, he gets past the most dangerous part of the game now.
That's always... That decision is always so commendable too, right? Like for a Zerg player to see that and be like, I am not in a perfect position. I don't have a surplus here. I don't have creep spread to really cover that 4th base. And yet to still send, 20, 24 Lings across the map. Obviously paid off, as you explained, really distracting Clem and making that engagement less Clem-like than we would expect. Now, it's not like it's game over either direction, but Elazer now has a lot of creep spread, so I'm going to give momentum a little bit in his favor as Clem starts his drops, which actually the left side gets cleaned up pretty much immediately. Damn that boost on the medevac. Let's lose a muta for it. And the right side, the right side is totally undefended. Oh, there's nothing there. Okay, then. Well, that's great. That's really good for Clem.
Finishes off the hatch that he got low earlier, and it's a big win because the hatcher on the left side isn't ready. So it's not like Elazer can immediately get those drones mining again. It's going to be a little while, and then even then, that left side base is, it doesn't have creep to the left of it, so there's a pushing position that Clem can really take advantage of as he gets back to reinforcements. The Ling muta chase will not do anything, and Clem turns Elazer around, and the muta is almost turned back around to get some action, but not action that they would have really liked.
Yeah, when the mutas just start to dwaddle right outside of Marine vision, it's like, ugh. Yeah. But he was paying attention. So yeah, Elazer now in a pretty comfortable position is getting all of his upgrades, including Burrow, which is really exciting. I don't think we're going to see really burrowed Banelings so much, although we'd love to see it, as much as he has been trying to experiment with Lings littered around attack paths. This is something that he did do on this map last time they faced off. I'm not even sure Clem really ever picked up on it. I mean, maybe watched the replay, but regardless, a lot of free vision when you do that. And then as far as the rest of the typical game goes, Elazer gets upgrades, he gets technology, he gets the map, and really starts to make Clem, basically panic over which side he has to defend. Is he going to really hit my left base, which is exactly what's happening right now? Or is he actually going to try and hit me on the right? Because, well, center towers aren't up yet. And apparently not even being made. So he just needs to be prepared for both scenarios.
Well, the Banelings just got blown up by a Widow Mine. They might have gotten the depots, but that was twice as many Banelings used on depots as there needed to be because of what the Widow Mine got done. There are a couple of burrowed Banes around the map, and I mean, it's never a bad thing to include, honestly, right? If you get Burrow up, if you can put the attention into using them, they're probably going to find value. At the very least, they're going to take away a scan, right? And, especially the first couple sets, you have to kind of scan fairly luckily because you're not usually scanning just to find the burrowed Banes.
Right. They could definitely help. I mean, as Marauders get mixed in, you're going to need more than 2 Banelings, but, I mean, it's so worthwhile. It's something that I think we're going to see pushed by more Zergs as Starcraft 2 continues to be played out at this top level. But right now, it's all about the push on the right side. Clem has cleaned up a lot of creep, but still not all of it, so he's got to be careful. Forced to run back away from the creep. In fact, Elazer maybe even overzealously going over there, but he's buying so much time to rebuild those banelings every time he does push Clem all the way off. And another scan still does not clear up all of the creep tumors. Clem just to get up in the position.
The counterattack through the center. Elazer finds himself up on the top. Oh, he goes raised, but that don't matter if there's a gap, so the Lings get into the natural. I think maybe I just slowed the Lings down enough still that a few Marines got back here. But now Elazer's going to chase in, and those medevacs have to boost away, and Clem's not really set up properly to defend. His Widow Mines aren't spread out, so that's scary if the Banes get on top of them. And right now, the Widow Mines aren't even burrowed just yet. As Overseer set off the majority, hitting the Marines in friendly fire. Oh, and now Clem's got to come out of his own natural expansion to fight this. Somehow, Elazer doesn't... I expect Elazer right now to have Lings in the third and Lings in the fourth, and there just isn't. So somehow, Clem turns this around exceptionally well, given how out of position he was.
Well, what really helped was Bunker and Widow Mines over to the left and Planetary actually being done over to the right, you know? So that looked like it could have been one of those things where it's like, well, supply isn't bad. Oh, no, it's really bad, you know, just instantly as the army gets surrounded. But actually, Clem did have a lot to offer there. So Elazer, again, with how long he's on that side of the map, it's usually pretty good just for the time he buys to get up into maybe Ultras or whatever he wants to get, honestly. Lose a couple mutas there, but he's certainly... Oh, the Veilings are actually coming into play. Nicely done. And even kickstarting this fight, Elazer, he's looking for that momentum. He wants to catch Clem, just a little bit under-defended and is not quite finding it, but it's going to get a lot more complicated once Clem goes over to 5th base, right? Like right now we're talking about Death Or defending on 4 bases. It's working out okay for Clem. But, oh yeah, that 5th base is going to be so difficult. The muta's actually going to find it immediately.
Yeah, no, it's the 5th base is always the problem on Death Or, and generally I want to say that more so for the Zerg than the Terran player, because you're right, like the 5th base is more difficult for the Terran, but usually the Terran can be like, okay, I get 4 bases and you need a 5th first. 14 drones just went down to a mine drop though. That's the sort of damage that really brings Clem back a little bit, because now Elazer's taken away for a moment or two off of what has just been a ridiculous almost 100 work account. I've got to play this a bit differently. Widow Mine's going to clean the rest of this up, and man, the defense here, a tank, a Widow Mine, a bunker, is doing so much defensively, really minimizing how much can be done. Finally, the mutas show up to help break this down, but even then, it's coming at a cost. 2 missile turrets.
Yeah, he wasn't quite continuing to repair. Thor in the main seems like it would help, but then just gets magic box. That's taken out instantly, and now the main is wide open. Clem has retreated entirely. He did get a cancel, or I think maybe even a kill in that middle right base, but he is entirely retreating. I mean, that said, as long as he doesn't lose like an insane amount of production, which he is not going to do, Elazer is now... I mean, he's missed his opportunity to kill that 4th or 5th, rather, before it's a planetary, right? It's turned into a planetary now, and he's still mostly focused on the left side. So that's actually something that's going okay for Clem, and actually that Widow Mine helping out a tremendous amount. Elazer really overstaying his welcome, wanted to combine this with a Baneling attack that also does not work out very well. The concave was far too good, and that was Elazer wasting a lot of gas on that attack. He just really overstayed.
Yeah, he just had to rebuild 14 Mutalisks, and he's still only trying to play a Lingbane meter as well, so... it just, I mean, if there ever was an intention to tech up, now it's slowed down by another 1,400 gas or so, right? And yeah, I would kind of like Elazer to tech up. I feel like we're missing the Ultraless Cavern or something to slow Clem down a bit further. They're still trying to fight with Lingbane meter against a Terran that seemingly is getting it under control.
Yeah, it was in the strongest position for the Terran too. Like it feels really fun to just like beep bop around the Terran's base and go na 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 na. But I mean, it has a timer usually, and I think it would have been better off trying to attack the right side, which would have been not quite a planetary and another base, which, by the way, Elazer did finally get on top on. But this could have been what was happening instead of the left side where he lost control. Now for the right side, that is a little bit weak, just so difficult to defend against this many mutas, despite having a decent number of missile turrets. They weren't all down at the same time. Clem desperately trying to get over there to defend not only his 5th planetary, but also potential 6th base, is going to be losing a lot of SCVs. And maybe opening up opportunity on the left side. No, just a handful of things.
And the Widow Mine to clean them up. Yeah, nice for Elazer to get over this right side. It's what he needed. He needed to pull Clem completely the other way, and Clem was fully focused left side of the map recently. So this was absolutely the right choice there, as now we've got our army making its way down the right, and Elazer's still up the right. I mean, Elazer, remember, is only on 5 bases himself, right? So if you're only on 5 bases as a Elazer, you can't really let the Terran have 5 bases, because the way you trade, the efficiency you play for in this, you're 7,000 resources lost behind. You can't be behind on bases. So denying this 5th right here like this, that is absolutely huge. and that keeps the laser running for just that little bit longer.
Laser finding just the right sweet spot, honestly. You know, Clem didn't have quite as many units as he would have liked defending that planetary, and high-sec auto-tracking wasn't done, so maybe that extra shot could have saved him dying to the banelings themselves, but yeah, the mutas probably still would have finished it off. Clem is going to go ahead and use his extra command center in an orbital, it looks like, to float over, and then an extra, okay, right with the command center over the left side. So double expanding, but that right being an orbital makes it very, very weak. Trying to kind of make up for the weakness by being aggressive out in the map isn't starting off too well. So Laser pushes him all the way back home. I think it is time to talk about Elazer's. Is he going to transition? He's actually adding on missile and carapace, but no additional technology. Is that the right way to go from here for Elazer?
I don't really like it, if I'm going to be honest. I really just wanted to see, I can't believe there's still a gap in Clem's wall, by the way. I really wanted to see Elazer just, even like ultras, right? I know everyone's like, oh, ultras into throw, but like ultras do a lot in a game like this because they just make the fights that little bit less effective for the Terran. They just give you a little bit more sturdiness, and right now I feel like that's what's missing because Clem isn't really afraid of any fight right now because look at the army supply, 150 to 110. I think Bane Muta is not meant to fight straight up, and then fighting straight up against a 40 army supply lead, that's way more than you ever usually would. So yeah, Clem, to me, has a terrifying army, and I would have liked the Laser to do something to kind of work against this, and so far that's just not happened at all.
Yeah, I mean, he's managed to find a couple of really neat positions and catch Clem off guard, but Clem is starting to get things under control a little bit. I mean, even his right side orbital is still alive.
Clem just walked over there's some Balins on the left side. He just walked over all of them, and they didn't go off. And I'm like, no! He could have killed every Marine, and that could be just a game-changing moment as well, right? We are a Burrow connection away from maybe just giving Elazer the momentum to swoop through and clean it up, and maybe that's what he's even planning on. He sends a counterattack up top right. The mutas on the left, but this army of Clem is down on the bottom side, and he's going to have to do something to respond to this. At least he is denying the 2 new bases of Clem.
Yeah, that's pretty important. You know, this actually is, he doesn't really have to go up the ramp, right? Elazer has already expanded to the right side, and well, he's going to go up the ramp. That might not be the right call. 3 Thors actually taking down the mutas. Elazer just intentionally taking this fight? I guess so. Yeah. He does trade out an okay amount. It was such a big distraction that the orbital actually died, but that planetary to the left still alive. I guess the main orbital lifting to continue his progress down in that left side of Death Or. Oh my god.
What? Yeah, I think Clem's broken now, right? Because he only has 40 workers. He gets that left base up, but suddenly Elazer has base 6. And now he's got maybe the momentum to take base 7. And unless Clem can strike really soon, I think that income from Elazer of 83 versus 35 workers, that's just going to be way, way, way too much to deal with. So I think Clem really has to go now and really find a big win in one of these fights. Like in this one right now, if he doesn't win this, I think this could be Elazer's game as the Balins roll into the top side. The mutas are going to come sweeping through the bottom, and yeah, there's a bit of army up on the high ground. You don't have any Banes left, but a few new ones just morphed in over on the right-hand side. And Clem's going to try and get this base up, but he's also running back home to try and stop these mutas, which have been ping-ponging back and forth between bases. He's just killed 10 drones on the right side with Widow Mines again, and that is a big, big play as he needs to slow down this Zerg economy in any way possible.
Yes, he does. I mean, he has to keep his army where it is right now in that middle left base. There's an orbital, and also just like the entryway, I guess, into his other really important base. He cannot afford to lose it. So if Elazer wanted to recommit to the mutas and go back into bopping around the main and the natural, that would be so difficult for Clem to clean up. But Elazer, I mean, I guess not really able to afford to remake, or yes, he did. I was like, where are those mutas? I was like, he has 25. Yeah, once these mutas actually get across the map, that's going to be really obnoxious. In fact, seeing that many mutas right now must be so terrifying for Clem, because now he's like, well, I have to keep the pressure, because if I don't, those mutas go across the map and take down like every one of my bases, all my production.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been able to reinforce with the mutas across the map for a long time, right? So he only had like half of them over there. If they get there, it's going to be terrifying, but I'm still kind of afraid of this
push.
Yeah, this push right now, right? Like, it's way scarier than it feels like it should be for Clem, having been hanging on and just such a low working count. Elazer has no mineral bank anymore, ZG.
Nah, man. Like, I think his mining got interrupted pretty severely with the Widow Mine drops. Like, not that it killed a lot of drones, it just forced them to pull away for a long time. And I guess we're also getting to that point where that middle right base for Elazer was actually like one of his strongest only mining bases. So he really needed that base, and he really needs the one that's about to die. As just a handful of Marines go up to it, that is pretty important. In fact, so important that Elazer moves his entire army over to that right side. Once Clem sees that, maybe he'll try and push in and take down the bottom left because they're doing minimal mining anyways. The Marines will go down, but I mean, how many Marines was that for taking down a hatchery? That is actually pretty important. I think it's pretty worth for Clem, but there's the mutas. They can take down so much here, but Clem is pushing to the bottom left.
I mean, they can take down so much. If there was anything there, Zombie Grub, that base is kind of barren. You know, the left bases are the important ones right now, and Clem still has those up and mining. If the mutas can make their way over there, that's going to be maybe the killing blow. I'm impressed. I'm not alone, right? I really thought Clem was dead before when he didn't make the push work earlier, and he's still fighting along.
I mean, I think it's really important that he got the left side up and running, right? Like, one's a planetary, the other one was an orbital, but he actually was able to stay there without being severely punished. And that planetary going down wasn't really a severe punishment since it was already mined out. This is still a scary number of Zerg units. We're talking about 29 mutas, and it's pretty much mass baneling. The Widow Mine's starting to get taken out, and that is also pretty critical. They're not exactly expensive, but for Clem, they kind of are.
When you've got
and they're kind of critical.
Exactly. 20 gas, 44 gas income per minute right now as he gets the refineries up on this base. Wouldn't mind him taking the refineries on the 9 o'clock, which is a bit further back from the aggression, but okay, whatever you can do. He's going to hit the right side again. He's going to deny that from coming up. Base 7 from Elazer will just never get there. The Marauders could maybe tank a few of these Banes as the mutas are going to... The Widow Mine Zombie Growth! It's going to get so many of the Banelings, and Elazer loses a lot on the right side. Clem tries to get away. He can maybe lift and leave, but the Mutalisks are going to chase him down.
A medevac's going to go down, maybe some of the production as well, as Elazer just full-on commits to this side of the attack, which I guess makes sense. I mean, Elazer has no reason to defend the bottom left anymore, but a couple of good Widow Mines scaring away those mutas. Just the bare minimum reinforcements to really push Elazer from that idea of potential base trade, and he's back to defending this base, which, you know, at one point was just like almost a freebie. There was so much more emphasis on the left side, but now is a necessity. He has to get not just his army over there and keep it alive, but hell, even the creep spread. There's none there. Clem could just walk up to it whenever Elazer isn't home and tear it down.
I was going to say, maybe the power here for Elazer is just to defend that upper right, because then the base he's just trying to take that just got cancelled, maybe that base is genuinely something you can make work as well, right? That's meant to be Clem's base, but Clem never really held it for very long. So if you could get that mine in there, that might be the extra base up you need to make the lack of efficiency throughout this game pay off eventually. Right now, again, the longer this goes on, the more worried I am for Elazer, because his mining is going to become a problem with how inefficient he's being. At the moment, he gets a couple of good fights, but it's still Clem on equal supply. At least Elazer this time has a bit of money in the bank to rebuild with right away.
Oh, right outside that scan vision. Is this really going to work, though? Is this really going to work? Oh, my God. Clem, he has been able to keep, I guess, most of his scans. You know, like you'd think he'd be muling, but with only... I mean, 2 bases, 46 work is actually pretty fair. And, well, there's no Banelings on this ramp. That actually would have been nice. He's pre-splitting. He's scanning ahead, really trying to make sure a bird Baneling doesn't change the pace of this game. There actually scans the ones to the left, and now he has a strong, very strong push into this very oversaturated base.
I know. 43 workers in this base. You forget that those workers don't really mean much because there's nowhere to mine with them from. As we're going to be seeing Clem making his way down. There are no Banelings here, Zombie Grub. There's not a Baneling on the map. The bio is in a choke point. Lings and Mutas are going to try and make it work. He unburrows the Widow Mine to make sure the friendly fire doesn't go off. The Muta count might be just a little bit too much, and we do see a Thor showing up to try and save the day. There are the rest of the Marines. The Thor gets dropped back down, and the Mutas have to turn tail and run. And now ZG, there are only 25 Lings on the map, 24 Mutas, and still not a single Baneling.
Yeah, though, I mean, I don't know if it's a decision not to go for Banelings or just the necessity, I guess, of how fast-paced this game is, but a couple would have been absolutely crucial in that last fight. Elazer is finally, I guess, denying his opponent's economy a bit as well with a nice Ling run-by, and he's cleaning up this as well. The Muta's coming in really clutch at 24 with an okay upgrade. Like, they are doing surprisingly well, cleaning up the Thor, cleaning up the Widow Mines, cleaning up their Marines, or are they? Medevac's trying to heal through this. This is a very tight battle, but it's going to go into Elazer's favor as the Medevacs are forced to retreat. And what does Clem have left over? Where's the rest of his army?
How are these medevacs getting away? Are you kidding me? He's going to run into a Widowmine shot that could be pretty big. He trails the Ling forward. Now the other Widowmine gets sniped down. Credit to Elazer. He target-fired Widowmines in that previous fight so freaking well. It was so good and essential. Completely necessary. And finally, we're getting some more Banelings in play. Clem still mining off this left side base. Really needs that. If he loses that base, he is completely out of money to spend. I mean, the big thing is Elazer has barely any income left as well, and that's why every single unit that goes down right now, even denying long-distance mining, is absolutely critical for Clem.
Yeah, this is an insane game, man. And those mutas, oh my god, the mutas go into that base thinking that it's wide open. It absolutely was not. A lot of the mutas went down, and now the missile turret's even taken down more.
Oh
was
my
that
god!
actually what cost at the end of the game?
It
is GG. Clem, oh my god, absolutely clutch. Sub 100 supply at the end there. And the top left has the blue TErran for Team Liquid. He is Clem.
In the bottom right-hand side, our red Zerg player. Can he turn this series around? It's Elazer.
To kind of run around. I mean, we say open as if it's like, you know, totally surroundable. And it's not quite true, but it's a little, it's not as choky as Death Aura. And then when it does come to keeping these rocks alive, as we're being shown by our Level the Observer, thank you. This is actually where some TErrans can really get really good pushes. Right? So it's kind of one of those things where the Zerg has to be aware of those pushes with those rocks and then try and basically circumvent them, or simply just not expand in that direction, right? You know, we would see Elazer usually expand to the left so that the rock where the SCV doesn't matter so much. Clem's actually getting an SCV scout, which I highly respect. Elazer would open up the pool first.
All right, well, as Reaper comes across the map, I always feel it's weird to like reset to early game after something like that. Especially so quickly as well. Like, these guys, they came out of the game, they joined a lobby, they said go, and here we are. Just away we go again.
Wow. Elazer did this in ZvP, and I just said, like, well, I guess he's going to be aggressive because it's Elazer. And to me, that makes like a lot of sense. But as far as ZvT aggression in the mid-game goes, I don't know. I'm not as scared, you know? Like, I feel like the TErran, as long as they have any idea that it's on the way, it's not as potent as, I guess, for, you know, in ZvP. But this is what Elazer might be planning on doing. He's got that forward hatchery, which Clem might scout kind of last. You know, he's dancing around looking for this third. And then it's actually that third. But this also could be just him trying to get ahead of the creep spread here, you know? Because I was just talking about those rock positions and how it can be nasty. Well, I mean, if you're already spreading creep by 3 minutes or 4 minutes when it finishes, like, that might be what he's planning. I don't know, is this where you usually see Elazer take this base in this matchup?
I don't know. I've seen some Zergs take it before, but I think you're right. It usually turns into like roaches and stuff, right? And then you get aggressive. The thing, I always used to think this about the creep as well, like getting a head start on the creep, but actually it doesn't even really help you that much, because by the time that hatchery is finished, your creep can already be that far forward anyway. Yeah. You know? So you barely gain like half the creep tumor of creep, I think. You know, this creep tumor on the high ground could have already gone down to the low ground, and then you basically have creep where the third hatchery gives you creep anyway. So yeah, unless you're just trying to mine from this space more now, so you have to mine from it less later when it's more likely to be the one that gets denied, right? That's sometimes my favorite logic for this, but I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, and a lot of it kind of depends, I guess, how the game goes. Maybe he just doesn't like that bottom side against Clem, something the way that Clem plays it or so. Maybe he feels like it gives Clem less ways to kind of dive around with the Hellions. I don't know. It is interesting, though. That forward position definitely isn't what you would expect off the bat.
Yeah, there's been maps in the past, and I can't remember the one I'm thinking of, but where we did see this kind of play around, right? A very strong 2-tank push using rocks against your hatchery, and then Zerg players either avoid it altogether, which had its own complications, or try to basically get ahead of it and always prepare for it. But as much as we want to talk about Elazer, I got to talk about Clem's opener. So very minimal Hellions, right? Because he's like just skyrocketing up into those 3 bases. Fast 3rd CC right into a 2nd barracks. The 3CC 211 that I mean kind of almost ushered in this age of fast 3 CC, it feels, this kind of past month or two. And then just into that 3rd barracks, so no super fast 2nd factory. But yeah, the 211 drop off of 3 CC, it's going to provide that pressure that Clem loves, and then maybe follow up with those tanks. And Clem building a wall already at the front, while Elazer works on those rocks that I've just been trying to hammer on as a really... It's a really important point, all right? Like, if they're there, the tanks suck.
Tell me more about those rocks, Zombie Crab. You want to talk about them right now? They're under attack.
Yeah, I do, actually. If they don't die before Clem's attack, this game is over.
Do rocks have too much HP? Is that the new question?
Yes,
New balance.
The new balance.
This drop shows up. Obviously, this is not really designed to kill. This is designed to put a bit of pressure on, maybe force some units. They have some creep spread out, because that's the one thing that 3CC doesn't always have. Good way of clearing creep, and this is what kind of powers up the 3CC right now a little bit. You get good economy, you can put some pressure on the creep spread. This wasn't great, you only got one human, but then you can jump over here, maybe deny, pressure in this area. And look at Elazer, still playing up the right side of the map. So it looks like he just wants to play like a right side of the map game. And then maybe he just feels like that's less avenues of creep to spread. If you keep on working your way up the right, you're always going to have creep in front of your bases. Maybe that's the logic. And then it's very hard because you won't have a lot of creep in front of the natural, for example, but then that doesn't necessarily matter because how the heck does Clem get down there with an army?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. If you're expanding towards the left, you're kind of expanding your creep towards the left and then eventually up, right? It takes quite some time. Where I guess if you just do away with the left side kind of altogether, yeah, I mean, Clem has no reason to push down that side. And if he did, it would take forever to actually reach something important. So yeah, a lot more focus on the right. I think Clem already adapting a little bit to the situation, though. Obviously, supply depot wall-off's going to happen regardless, but that's pretty important because if that wasn't there and Clem is focusing on the right side, expanding to the right side, we have seen some pretty brutal Ling run-bys on Romana side through the middle. Clem even rallying to the supply depots as well. He really doesn't want to get hit by that. So not really intending to use like a 2-tank push, just really into the drops, getting up his own macro, finding some success. Actually, Elazer lost track of the drop, it looks like.
Yeah, again, 5 drones. This is really nice. Just not even anything fancy, right? Just straight in. He's just going to kill the hatchery, isn't he? Bye-bye.
Hey, yeah.
Right. See you later. How does Clem do this stuff, CG? It's just like, if I try to drop a Zerg's 4th base, you know what I run into? Like, every unit on the map.
Yeah, right?
Just gets here, kills 5 drones, and then still has time to kill the hatchery? Wow.
Yeah, Elazer, it looked like he thought the drop or a second drop maybe was going over to that bottom left. His Lings were entirely out of position. That was a pretty nasty loss. I mean, it's possible he recovers from it. He's still got a lot of other things going for him. His upgrades are done. His Baneling's on the way. Mutas are on the way. He's going to have time to prepare for this push. But actually, the rocks aren't broken down, so now they are. Now he's prepared for this push. And he could take an okay fight and then maybe even double expand afterwards, right? But Clem wants to engage. He's got a lot of creep to clean up, and he's really eager to do it.
Yeah, just gonna sit here, man. Those tanks, CG, they're sat behind some rocks. It's starting to get excited.
It's the way it goes, man.
Now, getting rid of a lot of creep. I mean, this feels like such... How do you flank this army? Like, I want to say you kind of just don't, right? Because you got to go so far down, along, up, around. It just feels so... I don't want to say impossible, but it feels really tough. Elazer is going to have a big upgrade lead, right? He's going to hit 2 tune right now. He's going to run by in the natural expansion, killing 10 SCVs already. It's sorry, it's not run by. It's a straight up baneling drop. So 10 SCVs there. Nice little bit of damage, bit of a distraction. Maybe if Elazer just pulls the trigger on 2-2, having kept some units at home, maybe that's his best bet to break this down.
I think that's what he's going to be going for. I mean, one thing that map makers, it feels like in this map pool, very specifically have done is made sure that any tank positioning doesn't actually hit the hatchery. It's actually quite a ways from it. So Elazer, I mean, he could take somewhat fights, and he can pull back and then rebuild, and then take kind of a somewhat fight and then pull back and rebuild. It depends on how good these somewhat fights are going. Right now, it doesn't look so pretty, though. He's lost a lot of mutas. Now he's going to pull the trigger as 2-2 is done. Force the lift off and take down 2 of the tanks, but 2 of them still barely. Nope, okay, only one's going to survive. Can Elazer rebuild fast enough? I mean, he's going to need more Lings. Right now, it's a total Queen Muta defense.
Oh my god, the Queen Muta? I mean, more like just Queens at this rate. Mutas are dropping out of the sky so quickly there. He does get onto this tank and he cleans that up. I mean, Elazer, I bring it back to Baneling. He doesn't have a single one ready, so how do you stop this Marine push now that reinforcements have arrived? You've got a swarm with Ling Muta and hope the upgraded advantage is enough, but the Mutas went in on their own.